The early issue on the Sabbath. The issue of the Sabbath. The claim that Yeshua broke the Sabbath was not an early issue. Biblical evidence. There is no evidence in the apostolic scriptures that anyone ever questioned the validity of the Sabbath. Sabbath controversy. There was no debate between Yeshua and his adversaries about whether the Sabbath was a day that God commanded us to set apart. Man-made laws. The debate over the Sabbath has largely revolved around how the Sabbath should be observed, especially the man-made laws that were added to the Torah commandments. The nature and meaning of the Sabbath. The origin of the Sabbath. As part of the creative order, the Sabbath predates Mount Sinai. What the Bible says. In Genesis chapter 2, it is recorded as a day that God himself set apart and blessed above all other days. The issue of manna. In Exodus 16, there is an issue about the manna and the timing of the gathering of the manna, which is the result of the Torah on Mount Sinai show that the Sabbath was well established before it was given. Yeshua's statement. Yeshua said, "The Sabbath is appointed for man, and not man for the Sabbath." Mark 2:27. Yeshua's teachings and the Sabbath. Yeshua's accusation. Yeshua was condemned for breaking the Sabbath, but he never broke the Sabbath. Exceptions to man-made laws. Yeshua made exceptions to many man-made laws that made the Sabbath a burden in his day. The true meaning of the Sabbath. Yeshua wanted to restore the teaching that the Sabbath is a day of joy and blessing, not a day to increase the list of things a person cannot do. Yeshua's custom. Yeshua's custom was to be in the synagogue on the Sabbath, which is an important example for his disciples as well. Modern interpretations of the Sabbath. Modern questions. In modern times, the question is often asked, what would Yeshua do? Gathering with God's people. It was Yeshua's custom to be with God's people gathered on the Sabbath. Biblical expectations. If you are a disciple of Yeshua, you should expect a clear statement to that effect in the Bible before you stop doing what he has done. God's commandments. I wonder where in the Bible it says that God doesn't want us to keep the Sabbath anymore. Paul's perspective and the Sabbath. Paul's concerns. Paul had no concern for Jews and Gentiles, and he felt it was important for everyone to keep the commandments. Whether or not the Sabbath is included, few people believe that Paul did not include the fourth commandment in what he called commandments. Argument for a change of the Sabbath. The question arises as to on what basis it can be argued that the Sabbath was changed to Sunday. Yeshua's sacrifice and the Sabbath. If Yeshua's eternal sacrifice is the instrument by which the Sabbath is abolished, then the question arises as to how the Sabbath will be resurrected in the millennial kingdom. The continuity and importance of the Sabbath day biblical clarity. The Bible does not imply that the Sabbath will be abolished or changed, and Yeshua has said that nothing in the Torah will be done away with until heaven and earth are destroyed. References in the Gospel of Matthew 5:17-20 states that Yeshua did not come to abolish the Torah and the prophets, but to fulfill them. Clearly say that you have come. The church place of the Sabbath. Emphasize that the Apostle Paul kept the Sabbath and acted strictly according to the law. Interpretation of Romans 14. Romans 14 does not deal with the Sabbath, and this is likely a controversy over the Feast of Weeks or fasting.